it seems that survey after survey, experiments after experiments keep pointing to the fact that women find men with money more attractive than men without. What does that say?
What about, especially now, we're talking about manipulative, duplicitous women. Now, what about in instances where women have gone out of their way to trap you because they know that he got money in the bank, hey, you know, and they're like, yes, I'm gonna get him, boo. I'm gonna get myself a baller.
6 siblings, 5 girls. I'm the tall one like my brother.
Yeah.
So the others are all a bit more, you know, feminine, genteel. And there is a particular sister who looks like Rihanna.
Ooh.
Now, we send her
She's the token.
to do the dirty work. If we had a problem at the car rental agency, if there was a mix-up with the booking, we push her to the front. And we do that because we know, forget me coming in with the receipts and, you know, statutory notice 415 says blah, blah, blah. She goes in, bats her eyelids, Bob's your uncle, problem solved.
Doing research and just growing up, I do look at Caribbean dancing and African dancing, and they're so different. I feel like, you know, I've been to quite a few African weddings now, specifically Nigerian weddings, birthdays, and the dance is so different. So they have, you know, there's dance moves, but they're not sexual. It's more like they're very proud movements, they're sort of fun movements. They don't really, when they dance, they don't really look towards being sexual. So you be beautiful and elegant, and you know, you might do a bit of tease, but it's not, the whole thing's not this big sexual movements. And I sort of wondered why.
Feminism sold her a yarn. So she was like, listen, young ladies, feminism is a scam, it's a lie, don't do it. Like, this is where I am, I don't have any babies, and I don't, you know, have a husband. Now, I thought this was really interesting because I think that a lot of us make this mistake of thinking that feminism and misandry are mutually exclusive. There's a real difference between women who are fighting for equality and women who don't like men.
How about we add a tax to alcohol, add an extra tax to say, you know, this amount of money will be going to cover for the NHS 3.5 billion pounds that the government have to put in every single year, coming from the people that actually buy this alcohol and misbehave.
Working in HR as my background, I did have a manager who would literally dismiss CVs if you couldn't pronounce the names. And also you had age discrimination back then, but now you can't put your age on the CV, so people also been discriminated against by their age as well.
How do you feel when people say that? Why all this black stuff, you know what, should we have the black British, you know, Miss Black Great Britain, all this black stuff, why have black magazines? All of that is racist. The reason why we have these divisions is because we were not being represented in the first place. So we had to come out with, hey, you know what, there's black people in Great Britain, there's black women, despite what the media may want to tell you, there is a lot of very, very beautiful, very intelligent, very talented black women who deserve the title of Miss Great Britain. So you know what, they were like, you know what, let's do our own crap, you know. That's why this happens.
No, this is what I'm saying. This is when I asked the question earlier, do we have to work harder?
Definitely.
Well,
Yes,
I had to work harder. You're having to work harder. You're the expert. You're in the black beauty field. You're influencing brands, left, right and centre. So you had to work harder.
Myself, Linda, and Natalie, we grew up never seeing a black princess till Tiana came along. And Natalie, you were saying that probably Disney have woken up to the fact that, look, black movies, Black Panther, prime example, made a bucket load of cash and was up for loads of Oscar nominations. So do you think maybe Disney execs have just woken up to the fact that, look, our audience base isn't just white people?
I mean, I've experienced it a lot of times, and
you've been in interracial or interfaith relationships?
Well, my brother, we cannot go into present details on that. You know, we don't know who's watching. But we have experienced some of it, and it's all about respect.
If I can pick you up on that, you said you can't go into details because you do not know who is watching. Would that be, you don't know who is watching, who will be shocked that you've been in an interracial relationship, or who's watching that would be shocked that you presently are in an interracial relationship? Which one is it?
My brother, we cannot go into that.
when we were younger, it was like that. It's a whole different story. We had the bogle, the butterfly. It's a whole different story now. There are people jumping off of roofs and landing in the splits, and it's crazy now.
Yoruba culture is very, very heavily entrenched in respect and hierarchy. You know, we have a saying in Yoruba that is "agbalagba onpuro," which basically loosely translates into "adults don't tell lies," which makes it increasingly difficult for children when they're trying to, you know, whenever they want to report what's happened. You know, Nigerian children find it really difficult to talk to their parents about things that have happened to them because, you know, A, they're usually never believed, they're just not listened to, because as Nigerian children, we're kind of raised to be seen and not heard.
Comedian Chris Rock, who has famously said that black people are always being tried to, always stopped from making money in different areas. And the conversation has said that perhaps if you look at the legalization of weed in America, the organizations and the majority of the people that are involved in the monetary aspect of it nowadays are of a particular race. And most of the black people that are involved in cannabis in the first instance are probably in jail.
There's a risk involved in teaching your child about certain things at certain age, because you sort of expose them to phenomenon that they shouldn't really be concerning themselves with.
But the phenomenon that you speak of is kindness. The phenomenon that you speak of is tolerance. Shouldn't we be teaching our children tolerance from the minute they come out the womb?
But how do you think it reflects on us, you know, the black community? For me, I'm always worried when I see these videos online. I constantly think to myself, oh my goodness, so if people outside of our race look at this, what are they going to be thinking of us? Like,
to play the devil's advocate, in recent times we've seen that hip-hop has been criticized for glamorizing the kind of like denigration of women because of the glorification of strippers and women that are cladly dressed. But people accepted that hip-hop was part of the reasons why black men in America and around the world are disrespectful to women. Why can't we accept that this genre of music might be the reason why the violence wave has increased?
For a while when I was in banking, I was the only black girl in HR. I was like, okay, what's going on here? And also you have this perception of, I can't be that angry black woman.
Of course.
I have to, you know, conduct myself in a certain way because there's preconceived ideas about who I am.
We're speaking about relationships. Multiple relationships. They're different friends for advice. They're different friends for romantic advice. They're different friends for financial advice. And some people can take this type of example into a romantic relationship. So people have several relationships for specific things. You have a friend that you go to for relationship advice. You have a friend that I can go to for financial advice.
You know, that's my actual dream, ladies, to have a best friend who I have sex with maybe twice a month. Like, genuinely.
It's an F-buddy, isn't it?
No. We live together. You're the father of my children. You're beautiful. We have the best time. You're like Chris Rock. You're hilarious. But the actual practical sex thing,
it's too much?
Not too much, just...
You know, you do what you want to do, but all I'm saying, what I'm fighting for is for black women to be able to have the same sexual freedom as their counterparts.
I agree.
If you want to go out on the weekend, I'm not saying you should, but if you want to go out on the weekend and, you know, sleep with different people and come home, that should be down to you, not down to your race. It shouldn't be determined by your ethnic background.
I agree.
Are we in agreement?
100%.
People at 5 are wondering if they're gay. People at 5 are wondering if they're transgender, whether we have these equality lessons in school or not. Listen, I was taught trigonometry at school. I'm not a mathematician. You can lift heavy items. Maybe I can't do that. I'm sure I can't.
Why are you lying?
I don't want to touch you because, you know, it will lead into that, isn't it?
Hey, wait, Monique, you'll lead into what?
Well, this is another
Are we romancing or Noni? Hey.
If an Arsenal fan, a Chelsea fan can like Drogba,
always has to bring it to football. When you get the Arsenal fan, Dr. Kelechi, on the table, he finds a way to navigate.
No, because we see this race. This is tokenism. You're just trying to pander to the black audience, right?
Hold on. Exactly. Are they pandering to the black audience, or is it about inclusion, and is it about
let me land.
Let me land, or is it is it about bringing in all these different characters?
If there's nowhere for you to go to form meaningful relationships, to play with other children, to potentially start doing the things you want to do in your future, maybe it be football, athletics or whatever, what are you going to do, unfortunately?
You used to stay in your house.
Yeah. No, you didn't always stay in your house. But you
Serena, so I'm picking on Serena here, guys.
You really are, aren't you?
Yeah, but
come on, man.
Come on, if you...
To be honest, I don't, like I was saying.
Wait, Monique, you just flicked the hit. As in, the point was about to be serious. Please, continue.
I believe two things are compulsory when you get together with someone that you plan on spending any quality time with. First of all, declare your financial situation. I don't want the bailiffs turning up. And secondly, I need to know if you and I are compatible in the bedroom, because that's a lot of what's important to me in a relationship. And if maybe we're not on the same page, let's not waste 7 years of each other's life finding this out.
And within a religion, I think it was the Mormon faith at the time, it was also acceptable, including the founder of the faith, had more than one wife. What seems to be the problem now where people are discussing Old Testament and New Testament?
Polyandrous relationships is something that we don't necessarily see much in Western Africa. I mean, I do know there are parts of Africa where women are allowed to have more than one husband and it works, but not necessarily in Nigeria. I don't know if Nigerian men or many African men are actually progressive enough to be like, yeah, I can be one of 3 husbands.
I've met guys who have no idea where is what. And you waste so much time and energy. And if only we were in a space where we could take away some of the embarrassment, take away some of that feeling that it's, oh, I can't, this is, this is funny, or this is kind of something that's titillating, and deal with it the way you'd go to a home ec class, and they're like, okay, so to get the right kind of bread, I've got yeast, I've got water, I've got flour, this is how we do it.
But isn't staying in an unhappy marriage as a child and seeing your parents grow up bitter, hating each other and throwing salad bowls at each other's heads, isn't that traumatizing?
Well, that's going to be true.
Relationships can be any form of relationships. But if you take it in the context of men having multiple mistresses or women dealing with multiple men, it's almost the same thing. These guys sometimes have a marriage or a relationship and they have a mistress that they go to, that they can go on holiday with.
Because you're signing a piece of paper and you're declaring to the government that I am with this person, I'm declaring with you.
But those same men who are declaring to the government, those same men and women that are declaring to the government and with those people are not declaring to the people they're cheating with that they're married. That's true. Am I wrong?
We can't comment on those people.
Unfortunately, we can't. But that's true, isn't it? So married or cohabiting, married or not, if you want to cheat on someone, if you don't want to commit to that commitment, you won't do it. Right? Does that make sense?
I get it.
If you're cohabiting, you can get out. If you're married, you can get out. We're talking about families and children.
Because a true feminist is fighting for the equality and freedom of women, for you to have the choice. So if you have the choice, listen, let me tell you now, I'm a womanist. When I get married, I am staying at home for the first 5 years with my children because that is my priority, but I have the choice. What I don't like is when you meet men and they're like, oh, this TV thing that you're doing, when we marry, you'll stop it. That's when you're now like, you're trying to dictate terms.
Diversity is now in. It's like we're a trend. So I think people are assuming because it's now a trend, then you're more likely to get the job if another person who was supposedly white is better than you. But because we're creating a diverse world and we want more inclusion, you're going to get that job.
Are we sort of helping to support this, this sort of negative connotation by taking part, by wearing the clothes, or is this something that's not in our control in terms of the way that people view us and look at us?
There is a particular Bible verse that people use to absolve themselves from guilt all the time. And listen, if anybody comes to me with that nonsense again, we will fight. So now it's Psalm 105 verse 15, and it's, do not touch on my anointed ones, do not harm my prophets. Do no harm to my prophets. And people always said that. In fact, I saw a comment on social media that said, touch not my anointed, even if pastor raped you. He's a man of God. Can you not just deal with it and accept it? Now, when you hear things like this, then it kind of, you can kind of understand why these people are not being held accountable.
My father's like this, my mother's like this. So if you're going to come
this is their way of life, and you need to try and respect that.
It's not about the way of life. What about the fact that her father would just not accept the fact that he is an African man dating a Hindu woman?
You see, these things are extreme.
There have been instances of women actually coming to say, hey, you're a pretty woman. I think my husband would really like you. Would you like to, come and assist with my duties, because it's getting quite difficult. I can't do it all myself. That's a fact. No, it definitely happens.
One of the difficult things in adding faith to the definition of marriage and the legality of marriage is the fact that once evolution starts, which we saw with two people of same sex coming together, it eventually could evolve to any individual deciding to get married to anything in the world that they decide to.
I agree with you.
Very restrictive and suppressive society, especially in terms of what you wear as a woman. I've said this before and I will say it again. Nigeria is heavily misogynistic, and due to that, women are heavily policed in terms of our outfits and things. And one of the things that I loved when I came back to London was the fact that I could wear whatever I wanted. If I want to bring out, if I want to do anything I want to do, I can do it because we're here. In Nigeria, we don't necessarily have that freedom.
But when you go out to slay, Jay, who do you know that's going to affect?
Well, I think.
Who do you know is going to quiver as you walk back?
When you started, you mentioned being a woman of faith.
Yeah.
In faith, some faiths and religions in the Bible in the past, we've seen people within the Bible that had more than one wife.
Absolutely.
And if you look at other faiths, just like being a Muslim, it is widely acceptable within that religion.
I agree with you.
Is it not just common sense to hire people who look like society, right? People who can do the job, let's get people in and hire them because we're representing a worldwide or people who look like us kind of things.
When you're between 16 and 18, you can actually legally get married with the permission of your parents. So you made a very good point. If money is tight at home, and let's say we already said Mr. Dao, Alaji Dangote, hey, we've already said he's looking for a wife. What if he now comes and says, well, you know what, Dio, you too, Seth, Dio is there. I just let you know, Alaji, Dio is here. She is willing. She said, you know what, she can come back to Nigeria. Even if it's not legal here, she'll come back to Nigeria and do it.
I had a friend who said, unfortunately, took his life at the beginning of this year through suicide. And my first thought was he sick? Did he feel like he was so ill he couldn't handle the pain? And then I found out that he'd been going through a lot, which he hadn't shared. And I found that quite difficult. This was somebody who encouraged me, who talked to me, who was quite vibrant, quite colourful.
It's usually those people. It's usually those people.
It would be so nice if our communities just educate the young. Like, why do we do things? Where do they come from? Remember, just teaching them to remember who they are and to be proud of themselves. And when you go out there, you are representing where you're from, your family, and just have fun, but have some pride, some self-pride, and
Thank you for joining me, and don't forget, every episode of Noni is online at yangatv.com. So wherever you are in the world, you can see this show and other great content from Yanga. Join us again soon for more entertaining conversation. Goodbye.